5, 6, 7, 8. Rock step, triple step, rock step, cha-cha-cha, rock step, cha-cha-cha, rock step.
Okay, welcome to the Degender Dance Podcast. My name's Lou. My pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Kate. My pronouns are they, them.
And just two they, thems talking about dance.
And stuff.
And stuff. Lots of stuff.
Oh, welcome, Lou. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you, Kate?
I'm good. Very happy to be here. Today we're talking about toxic masculinity and follows not being props, equality in dancing. We saw a post by Frankie Martinez where he was calling out men in the Latin dance community and like men who are leads being like, yeah, hey, you gotta step up. You can't just leave all the responsibility on women to protect themselves and each other. And it was like this rare moment that I've kind of just been like hungry for a decade for men to step up and say something, right? Because there's this huge Me Too movement happening in the Latin dance scene right now.
That's beautiful. Yeah. You know, here in Seattle, there was a Me Too movement that happened back in, I believe, 2018, a subject that I would love to dive in more to in the future here. However, it was something that started a very follow-focused culture here in Seattle. Started it. It's not fully here, but it's also mostly women that are talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of men are teaching follow-focused classes. It's like women are working to have a larger voice as opposed to necessarily everyone turning towards women. Some of that's happening, but not enough. So
Right.
It's probably like, or hopefully it is something that the dance world will start doing more as a whole. And the fact that it's happening in the Latin community is like very hopeful.
It's a big deal, yeah. And it's like there's the element of just like physical abuse and really, really bad stuff happening. And then there's like just how you're treated in a dance.
Absolutely.
And how you're treated like one of those like salsa robots that just like can help you practice moves. I don't know if you guys have seen those. Go online. You can literally buy a salsa robot.
Actually salsa robots, like you can buy a robot to dance with.
There are definitely like dolls that you can buy and practice your leading on.
Okay.
The look on Lou's face, you guys can't see it right now, but it's just utter shock.
What happened to the ghost partner? Can't you just dance with, your imaginary friend? You need your little robot to help you out?
Of course, the ghost dancer is like also kind of bad because it just like implies that the follow doesn't exist.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm just like not into any of it.
Yeah.
And I really want leads to learn how to like give space. So anyways, that's kind of what we're talking about today, all of that.
So I really wanted to like root this conversation in talking about, at least in my understanding, the research that I've done, where partner dance comes from. And it came from Greco-Roman times and Mediterranean culture, where like ancient Mediterranean culture, where there were circle dances.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very like people would come together and dance in a circle. This is where I believe like a lot of maypole type dances, and it was not gendered. Everyone could participate, or maybe sometimes it was just men, because especially in Roman times, men loved to touch each other. And
that's true.
So there were these circle dances going on around the Mediterranean, and the culture really spread because the Mediterranean was like this cultural crossroads in ancient human times. And then these circle dances ended up in Germany during the Dark Ages. And then they were like, we can't have just anyone gender dancing willy-nilly in these circles. We better start doing them where they're boy-girl by boy-girl.
Mm-hmm.
So that only boys were touching girls and only girls were touching boys. There wasn't, any other than that binary. Mm-hmm. And then one day, someone invented in one of these circle dances where the man would pick up the girl to the right of him and pick him up and put him down on the left. And the men would just kind of trade the women around the circle. Mm-hmm. And that was where the waltz was born from. It came from this gendered expression of these circle dances. Mm-hmm. And then the dramatic waltzes came out of that as, we moved through the Middle Ages. And then that's where you come into like these very European, like promenade dances and stuff like that. And then from there, that's where this Western idea of what partner dance could be mingled with the African diaspora of like circle dances and these ceremonial, like somatic movement, spiritual based practices got all mixed up with this binary, gendered, this is how men have access to women's bodies.
Right.
And that's where modern partner dance kind of comes from.
Right. And when I like that image of a man just picking up a woman and then like moving her from one place to another, like that image is just like, oh my God, that's what it feels like sometimes
Yeah.
when you're being literally moved around and displaced and replaced. You
Yeah.
know, you're really, and so anyways, I'm just like, so what you're saying is the kind of introduction into like modern European society took away the kind of free flow of everybody has a space here into men move women around.
Yeah.
Men do things with women's bodies. That's familiar.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And there's something like, you know, cis male leads dancing with dance partners, or are they dancing with a prop?
Right.
That they are just trying to make fancy shapes out of? Are you two people coming together and making art together, or is one person enforcing their own ideas on the other and the other person is using their whole being to make the other person's ideas come to life?
Right. Absolutely. And there's just so many examples. This is also part of this most recent kind of wave of people just being like, people and women mostly being tired of not saying stuff. Because there's also been like, there's this Me Too movement, but there's also been this rash of like, a rash in a good way of people coming out and being like, that dance that's been recorded and shared on the internet isn't actually good.
Yeah.
That dance, look at the nervous system and the face on that follow.
Mm-hmm.
That follow is literally like surviving that dance. The
Yeah.
look on her face is worried, concerned, shocked, frozen, can't even get a basic in. And so, yeah, that's really like coming up into the public sphere right now, and people are really noticing it, but there's like backlash too. People are not really understanding that that means an entire cultural shift
Absolutely.
of how the dance is taught.
Because we're literally going back to foundational reasons that partner dance exists and
Mhm.
analyzing if that's actually what we want to do anymore. Which
Totally.
means that we need to transform the whole art form if we're going to start making it more about equality and collaboration and less about men having access to women's bodies.
Right. Right. So like why, I mean, this is maybe a no duh. Why is following seen as so passive? Why is following seen as only there to like act out the men's or the lead's ideas? Like, where does that come from?
I mean, the patriarchy is all about is a system or society of government in which the father or eldest male is the head of the family and descendant is traced through the male line. So it's a system of community that's organized around the patriarchal lines, meaning that the men are more important.
Right.
And the women support men.
Right.
And that all of our attention, the default is to whoever is the air quotes most important man in the room.
Right. And on a social dance floor, that is often just literally any man, period,
Mm-hmm.
or any man that has any kind of recognition.
Yeah.
And so I want to say, like, even men that do not have any kind of dance recognition, they're often, even though they're struggling to like learn and maybe they're having their own dance journey, those people are always going to be seen as more important than a woman.
Yeah. As long as we are still functioning under the patriarchy, of which I think as a society as a whole, not just the dance world, is like slowing down and being like,
Yeah.
wait, why do we listen to these men? I don't know if they're actually making decisions with everybody's best interest in mind.
Totally.
Because men's egos are considered more important than women's bodies.
Right.
And like, I'm sorry, your feelings are important for everybody, but I don't know if your feelings are ever more, and like, your feelings never should be enforced on another person's body. Like you
Right.
can go regulate those yourself.
Right. Absolutely. And a lot of times it's like, this is one thing I've also noticed is there's a lot of there's like the umbrella of like what's not safe, right? And then there's the umbrella underneath that of like what's not technically proficient.
Mm-hmm.
And then underneath it is all this kind of gray area. There's like men using follows as props or leads using follows as props, usually men. It's like that is kind of shuffled under the category of like, oh, he was just being really musical.
Yeah.
Oh, he was just showcasing his talent. Oh, he was just, the follow just wasn't following. There's like all these things that are kind of like tertiary, secondary and tertiary things that we call it. But like, let's be real. If the follow is not able to have space and respond in kind the way you would in a conversation, that they're being used as a fucking prop.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some t-shirts that I never saw these. I think that these existed more in the 2000s. But I have heard tale of these t-shirts that existed in the Lindy Hop world of it. They said, don't think, just follow.
No.
Which is like, I'm sorry. Actually, following takes a lot of thought. And I think it's really fascinating that a lot of people who are socialized as men then try and go to learn how to follow. And they're like, this is really hard.
Right.
And I'm like, is it? I mean, yes, following takes a lot of technical skill. And like, were you just socialized to not listen?
Right.
Because I think that's why you're finding it hard.
Right.
It takes a lot of thought, but it's because listening also takes thought. And following also means that you're bringing a lot of ideas to the table.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just the lead. Like, yes, the lead is creating the shapes, but they're creating those shapes for the follow, and the follow is deciding how those shapes get filled.
Absolutely. This is a conversation I have with my students when they're learning something called a copa. And it's always like kind of a watershed moment because a copa is, yes, it is led with the technique that you learn as a follow, but you kind of have to know what a copa is. I can't just lead a copa on someone off the street.
Right.
Like even somebody who is passive, demure, great at listening, really cute, blah, blah, blah. I'm being silly here, but like the point is you have to learn how to create the following skills that you need to follow, and being outside of that doesn't make you any less of like a follow. You're just learning and you're just growing, and the ideas that you bring, there's like 100 ways you could execute a copa, but you still have to understand what it is. And so that old idea, we have that of course in salsa too. We don't think, just follow. It's like, oh, just follow. Oh, you didn't know? Just follow. Just relax and follow.
Mm-hmm.
I of course believe all leads should. The t-shirt I want to make is leads are follows.
Right. Yeah.
Because, in a lot of dance forms, the way that you can actually really invitationally get moves across to folks is by leading it as if you are following it from the follow's energy.
Mm.
And that's like maybe another topic, but jamming a follow into a move and going as fast as you can and getting mad at them that they didn't do it doesn't really make sense.
Well, there's like a school of thought that is disappearing of like, if you're a really good lead, you can make even a beginner dancer do anything. And
No.
that's just not actually how it is. Like by example of the copa, like if you don't know what that is, you're
Exactly.
not going to do it.
When you really talk about it in those terms, the idea that a really good lead can lead any follow in anything, let's just like look at that for a second. That is, first of all, that's saying that we expect a lot out of men and that we expect men to be excellent. We expect men to be the best, and that they can go and just impose their ideas on any woman in the world.
Absolutely.
That's crazy and abusive.
And to tell men that they're supposed to be able to do that, and then they go out and try because it's like not going to work. Like, that's
Right.
not how the world works.
Right.
So then, like, what an awful hit to their ego to then go, like, be told that you can do something and then you get out on the dance floor. You're just going to feel like a failure. That's
Right.
not fair. I think that that's one of the greatest failings of the patriarchy, that we tell men that they're supposed to be able to do all of these things and have all of this power, when like having that power is actually super harmful to both them and whoever they're trying to enforce it on.
Absolutely. It also explains why so many leads actually like talk to you and tell you how to do stuff while they're social dancing with you. Because it's like they have this idea that they should be able to physically make anything happen. Oops, that didn't work. So let me like tell you how to do this thing. Like, how about you just lead stuff that I can do?
Yeah, like meet your follow where you're at, and like don't have the dance that is the fanciest dance in your head. Have the dance that's going to happen with the person in front of you.
You can go online and watch all kinds of videos, and you can like watch the follow. Don't judge the quality of a dance by how much stuff the lead is doing. Watch the facial expressions of the follow. Watch the command that the follow has over their own body. Watch whether or not you would enjoy being led in that stuff. And then you can, because there's all these extremely talented professional follows that are dancing with people that are considered their equals, and they look like they're about to start crying.
Yeah.
It's really, and I don't even know if a lot of those dancers recognize that that's not a good feeling to have, because I think as women, we are so conditioned to feel that way with men being in control.
Absolutely. Well, because women are socialized to cater to men's egos all the time, because if a man's ego gets minimized in any way, that means that we're in danger.
Totally.
So that's the like being nice to creepy men.
Mm-hmm.
You have to smile and be polite, or who knows what that guy is going to do to you.
Right.
And that comes through in social dancing a lot. Like you as a femme follow are like, I need to read my lead's mind and fill these shapes like in a way that he's really going to enjoy, or it's not going to be a good dance. And then I'm not going to get asked to dance again. And then I'm not going to be valued as a dancer in this room.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like, there are people, there are leads, there are men that can do it.
Absolutely.
I haven't met a ton, to be honest with you, especially at a high level. I've actually danced with a lot of like beginner intermediate dancers that really are a joy and a pleasure to dance with. But at a really high level, it starts to trail off because I think the ego is so high.
I know a dancer that I've known for since I've got into Lindy Hop, and I love this person. I think he's a really sweet guy. I love him so much. And when I first started dancing, he was like one of those leads that had such incredible ideas, and he could dance with beginners just as well as someone really advanced, because he really tuned into his follow and like had the dance that both of them could have. It was so beautiful. And then he started winning a lot of contests.
Oh, no.
And now I can't even dance with him. I'm like, what are you trying to get me to do right now? Like, why is this shape? Why is this shape what we're doing on just a Wednesday night? Like, what is going on right now?
You're like, sir, it is Wednesday.
And it's like, yeah, I'm like, why did winning some contests make you lose that thing that made you so fun to dance with?
Yeah. Oh, and here's my theory. The people that are advanced that can do it have gone past that phase.
Yeah.
But it's really an ego trip, I think. And I also think we do not teach leads enough about the foundation before they go into learning figures.
Yeah.
And then and also a lot, I think there is a masculine tendency to want to devour information.
Oh, yeah.
To devour more moves. I can't tell you how many students I've had. I just want to do more with my hands. They want to do like flashy decorations and stuff with their hands. I'm like, you can't do a basic. So we're not doing that. We're not doing that. But I've really seen that with leads, that they want to like hoard as many moves as they can before really understanding the foundation.
I think that I, through my like leading journey, have gone through that a little bit. I waded through some toxic masculinity in
We all
my
do,
lead journey.
yeah.
I think that there's like definitely the inclination to want more moves because I'm so worried that I'm being boring to my follow.
That's so real.
And actually, like the really chill dances that I give my follows, especially like the really advanced follows that I dance with, or follows, you know, that have been dancing for a really long time, they like the really chill dances because that's where they can bring their ideas to the table as well.
Totally.
And I have a lot of like feeling insufficient because I'm like, oh, I just don't have a lot of vocabulary.
Right.
And it's like, do I need a lot of vocabulary if my basic is just like really juicy and I'm tuning in with my partner and we're collaborating? Like
Mhm.
that's what can be a lot more fun as a dance.
So true. There is a flip side to it, at least in the Latin dance scene. There is a history of follows not wanting to dance with beginner leads.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think we talked about this in another episode of like, wow, it's really messed up that we tell men, you're going to do this thing and you're going to be in control.
Yeah.
And then it's actually really hard.
Mhm.
Like learning to lead the curve in the beginning is so steep, whereas the learning curve for follows gets harder, at least in salsa, way later.
Yeah, and then there can be like a plateau in your following and
Mhm.
stuff like that. That difference in dance learning curve is very real and pretty universal.
Yeah, so I think there's this element of just, well, and it's also like hearing no as a man, I think is something that they're just completely unfamiliar with.
Yeah, because like here, that's like one of the things with male egos. Being told no is a hit to their ego.
Totally.
When it's actually like, if you can hear that no and respect it, oh, that's actually like the I wish that we lived in a world where the men that we really loved and respected and looked to were ones that were really great at respecting boundaries instead
Mhm.
of seeing blowing over boundaries as being powerful.
Yes. So real. So real. And I think that that's kind of what I'm noticing in these like quote unquote high level social dance videos that have they've gotten like mixed reviews. Some people are like, no, this is like a great dance. I love dancing with that lead. And other people are like, look a little closer at the expression on this follow's face. She's literally fighting for her life in
Yeah.
this dance.
Yeah, I think that really reminds me of something that happens to people that have been following for at least a few years. Like be sitting to the side at a social and just like watching the floor, enjoying all the dances that are in front of you. And then you'll see a dance that's normally like an older man and a younger woman.
Mm-hmm.
And you just get so scared for the young woman's body because this man is just, he can't do a basic. So they're not like in an agreed upon conversation together because there's no foundational basic step going on between them.
Right.
And he's just whipping their arms around and like weird pretzels and spinning them around on them. And like, if you understand what that feels like, it just fills your body with fear and
Totally.
tension because it's terrifying to be in that situation. And that poor young follow hasn't realized that yet. So you feel that fear for her and it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I think there's like, in the beginning, there's the excitement of the fun of dance. And then there's the confusing that with, that felt bad in my body, but you don't know yet that it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
And I think also we're talking a little bit about this here, and I'll just bring it up again. Like, I think women are incredibly used to blowing past their own boundaries because there's a social situation that requires it.
Yeah.
And social dancing in the bad ways is that.
Yeah. And boundaryless women are valuable to the patriarchy.
Oh, yeah.
So we get validation
Mhm.
when we're like, oh, no, I'm chill. I'm the chill girl. I don't have any boundaries. I'm so want to do whatever you want to do.
Yep.
That makes you cool in a lot of men's minds.
Yo, yeah. It reminds me of like when I first started dancing, it was like there were kind of these rules of etiquette of like, you know, don't say no if you're a beginner. Say what? That's so crazy to me. Or like,
I
don't
hate
say
that.
no if, like if you're training on a team and you're out social dancing, you should practice with the people that are, you should say yes.
Yeah.
And I can understand the communal element of that. And I think that there is value in making sure you're not saying no just because you don't like somebody's look or whatever. But you should also be able to say no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
That song sounds really fast. I'm going to sit down. Thank you.
Oh, if you know me, you know I am not dancing to a fast song.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I want to groove, and I don't want to do more than 2 spins.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a doubles person. No triples, please.
Yeah.
So that's what I always say. No dips, no weight supported movements, no triples, and please no fast songs. But yeah, it's really, really something I think that is going to have to change if we ever want a safer dance community.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think this deeply links to all the other, like, I want to say more severe abuse that happens in the dance world.
Absolutely. I think that it is very dangerous in these dance congresses, these dance weekends that happen. And if you go there and you follow and you're in this mind space of being submissive and letting your body be carried along, especially if you're like experiencing a lot of dips and fancy moves, like you're literally somatically putting yourself aside to fill these shapes. And if you're doing that all weekend, stressing yourself out of sleep, dancing as much as possible, how susceptible to suggestion do you start to get off the dance floor? And that's where some really dark stuff starts to happen in these dance spaces.
Yes. Or if you're really young, if you're really young, and there is so much power dynamic between older men and younger women. It's that old trope of, they just keep coming. The young dancers just keep coming, and the old men have been in power for a long time. They're studio owners, they're company directors, they're choreographers, they're event organizers, they're DJs. They're continuing to stay in these positions of power, and the young dancers just keep coming, and then they become groomed, and it's a whole thing.
That dazed and confused quote of like, I keep getting older and they just stay the same age. And that really comes into like follows as props.
Yep.
Are you paying attention to this person that is actually in front of you that's not going to stay a 20-year-old girl her whole life?
Right.
She's going to grow into a person, like she's going to become more of an adult. She has her own opinions and stuff like that. Or are you just seeing a 20-year-old Barbie doll that you get to push around?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think also just like being completely out of touch with themselves, these men, I think that there is this, I mean, this is psychology, me armchair psychology-izing right now, but I think they really have like some holes to fill in themselves. And I think that there's like this deep confusion of, I just, I really connected with them, or I really, they're a really good dance partner. And I think that is like a separate issue from the grooming. Like, don't get me wrong. I think those are predators, but I do think that people are out here trying to make themselves feel better by dancing.
Absolutely.
And these congresses are just like really delicate, sort of scary places if you are not really in touch with what's going on with you, And so, yeah, it's something to really check in with. And that's why it's so important that Frankie Martinez is starting to say, like, hey, man to man, you gotta start waking up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not on us. We're the victims, and females are the victims, and it's really, really important that they don't also have to be the ones protecting themselves,
doing all
alone.
of the work of
and all the
educating
emotional
and all
labor.
Yes. I often joke about just handing out copies of Bell Hooks' The Will to Change to these men. It's, if you haven't read The Will to Change, it's so good. It's a book that's written to men who it will help them understand that the patriarchy is hurting them as well.
For sure.
It's, and like that Bell Hooks argues that one of the greatest wounds of men is that they have to divorce themselves from their emotional selves.
Yeah.
And that then causes this dynamic where they're enforcing women to do their emotion regulation for them.
Right.
And that's like a really unhappy way to live. Like they talk about the male loneliness epidemic. They've done studies and that men and women are actually experiencing the same amount of loneliness as each other.
Mhm.
But men experience it in this way that is really harmful to them and to others.
Yes. Yes, that's so real. I got to read that book.
It's so good.
Yeah, I've read some of her other work and she's amazing. What would it feel like, or what does it feel like when you are given space as a follow? Like, let's talk a little bit about how that could look, because there's so much damage to undo
Mm-hmm.
with how things have been taught and practiced. How do we start to undo some of that damage by identifying what it feels like to lead and follow differently?
Absolutely. I really think about one of my favorite leads in Seattle. His name is Cal, and he's such a sweetheart. And he likes to switch dance with me, but he's one of the few leads that like, will come together to dance, and I'll be like, actually, I just really want to steal your moves. Can you lead? Because I just want to like follow for you, see what your ideas are like, and take up space myself. I don't want to do the planning ahead part, which is leading.
Mm-hmm.
And he always gives so much playful room that if I ever want to do what I call a power bottom move, where I, as a follow, like really hit an idea, like he will go with the flow on that and just riff off what I put on the table as well, instead of just enforcing what he wants on the table. And I love dancing with Cal. Shout out to Cal. What a sweetheart.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think like having that room and that time to take up space is really, really valuable. For me, it is a feeling of like call and response.
Mm-hmm.
Like the lead picks up the phone and says, "Hey," and I hear the ring and I say, "Hey," back, and it's just like this back and forth of conversation. And if I'm not, and in salsa, it's very much like you open the door, the follow follows through.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this trend of less and less room for the follow to follow through, which is when we have this moment to freeform express our ideas, our thoughts, our musicality. And so like just having the basic dynamics of the dance in there is what makes it roomy for follows. And that's being like chopped smaller and smaller and smaller by like if it's 50-50, then it's like it's inching to 60 leads, 40 follows, 70-30, 80-20, 90-10. And it should just be 50-50, the feeling.
Yeah.
And so like the way that I try to focus on that when I'm leading is just creating more space. More space for the basic foundations of the tradition of the actual dance.
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves plenty of room because that's how it was built.
Yes.
Because both parties have space.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
like the origins of salsa are the lead comes up with something and the follow comes up with something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lead retorts and then the follow retorts. And it's very like, you go, I go, you go, I go,
call
you
and
go,
response.
I go. Yes.
Yes.
And so when that starts to diminish, I'm just like, this isn't salsa.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, that's my feeling is teaching more of that for leads would be amazing.
I think that one of the things that I really like to do a lot as a lead is stop dancing for a second and wait to be inspired or delighted or whatever by what my follow decides to do with that space.
I love that.
I will often this happens pretty naturally in things like a swing out in Lindy Hop, because a swing out is the time where the follow literally gets to take up space. Like you have released them out into this open position, and the follow can decide whatever variation that they want to do. I often, like, especially if I'm dancing with someone that I know is like a tap dancer or something like that, then I really like to do like a send out.
Oh yeah.
And then just make my energy a lot smaller and just see this person that I know has rhythm flowing out of their feet. I just want to like make myself a little quieter so I can hear what rhythms they bring up. And then sometimes they bring up like a little, phrase or rhythmic joke, and then I can go repeat that joke or call back to it a little later in the dance. And now we're having like this really juicy, fun conversation that can get really delightful for the both of us. And that moment wouldn't happen if I was just really concerned about making really big moves every single moment of the dance.
Totally. Absolutely. And like, I just want to say, like, the obvious answer to me is that leads should learn to follow.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't know, like, I can't tell you how many intermediate leads I've danced with that I try to show them something and they can't do a simple turn as a follow. And I'm guessing if you can't understand those mechanics of what a simple turn is, how can you lead one that is safe, that gives room, that allows for expression? So that's an easy way to get better at this.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something, is just start
try
start following a little bit.
Yeah.
It's its own art form. It's really fun. It's incredibly satisfying to get good at following.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who switch dances, it baffles me a little bit how you could not want to know what it feels like on the other side
I know.
of
Same.
that.
Same.
Like, I mean, I think that really goes for people who follow as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because a lot of people who follow are like, oh, no, I can't lead. I don't have whatever it takes to lead. And it's like, I think you do, though. It's okay if you don't. It's okay if you try it on and you decide that you don't like it on either of these things. And like, actually, like, I really just love to lead. Actually, I just really love to follow. That's great. But how do you actually know that unless you've tried both?
Absolutely. It also, in my own learning, when I started leading, because I danced as a follow for a long time before I started leading, there was a moment at the beginning where it was like my brain was melting. But then there was like one of those, like, those satisfying videos on Instagram where everything fits together, like the most satisfying whatever.
Like ASMR
videos where things
together.
come together. It was like, oh, I suddenly like leveled up in a huge way my understanding of the entire art form.
Absolutely.
By knowing both. And it was like, I can't ever go back to not knowing that.
Yeah.
Because it's such a deep understanding.
It's true. It's a big transformation. It's almost like you go through a portal or something like that. I want to say, if anyone's out there being inspired to learn the other role, you will break your dancing for a little bit.
Yeah,
You're gonna your brain's gonna melt. You're gonna blend your footwork. You're gonna confuse your dance partner. And like, I really want to encourage anybody to like go through that phase, because you will come out the other side a so much more well-rounded dancer. Even if after you've experimented with the other role, you again decide to settle into one side of it, you're going to have so much more of a well-rounded understanding of what you're doing. When you feel like you're not being listened to in a dance, is there any way that you start to assert yourself?
Oh yeah. I mean, I already take up a lot of space. So like, I kind of assert myself from the get-go. I basically like take my body and I make it like I'm a balloon, and I just get like 15% bigger. And if you don't know me, I'm already not a small person. So I just like breathe in and take up a little more space. And if someone is really futzing around with me, I will do that even more. I'll just like bring my body more broad. But also I will take like larger steps away from them just so that I can create more distance for myself. And if I'm if I'm really not being listened to, I will just step away.
I have walked away from dances.
I just leave the dance
floor.
floor.
It's so powerful. Oh my God. Walking away in the middle of a dance that is not serving you, and they're not like, and you've done several things to the point where if I verbally ask for what I want in a dance and it is still ignored, I walk away now.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I love it. It's the most powerful thing I've ever done.
No, it's great. It's really great for everyone involved. Also, I will like kind of stand on the sidelines and just like watch. You can usually tell, not always, but you can usually tell who is being respectful of their dance partner. So I kind of watch and be like, that's who I want to dance with. And I'm going to go ask that person to dance if I'm following. I lead a lot more than I follow now. But I think a big part of it is taking up space.
Absolutely.
And then saying no or just disappearing from the interaction completely, like you said, walk away,
Mm-hmm.
is really valuable. If you're being even remotely physically harmed on the dance floor, and that includes emotional harm of being hit on and stuff, just get out of there.
Just leave. Yeah, you
If
don't
you
need
feel
to do
safe
it.
enough to do so, go talk to a friend and say, this weird thing just happened. But really what you want to do is take up space, because the more cushion of space you have around you, the more you're going to be able to assert
Yeah.
your feelings and ideas.
Another tactic that I really like to use that I've done a few times when I've ended up in a dance where I'm not feeling listened to or respected, and I've done a few things to try and assert myself, and I'm still like, I've tried taking up space and it didn't really
Right.
work. What I move on to next is a tactic, something that's called in the psychology world is gray rocking, which means you completely remove your energy. So instead of thinking about like taking a breath and making yourself a balloon that's getting bigger, you instead, as even though you're physically staying in the dance, remove your energy. So then I will do things like make my steps really small. I stop doing any styling.
Oh, yeah.
I don't smile anymore. I don't make eye contact anymore, or I make really intense eye contact. And
I do that
will
too.
emotionally remove myself from the dance. And if they tune in to that, I can come back a little bit.
Mhm.
But if it's this way of removing my energy from the situation.
Yes, I love that. And I think it can really protect your body too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ugh, so much like the social dance world is like a little petri dish of all the larger issues we face in the world. It's like a little
Absolutely.
micro community. So it's cool to think about how we can bring that stuff into the other parts of our lives.
Well, this is a huge topic that we're absolutely going to keep talking about. So hopefully, we'll even have like amazing guests come on and talk about this.
Mhm.
And as always, if people have feedback for us, we always want to hear your thoughts on it. Please
Absolutely.
reach out. Tell us if we're wrong. Tell us if we inspired you. Tell us whatever. And that's it for us this week.
Amazing. Thanks for listening, y'all.
I'll see you soon. Bye.
Rock step, triple step. Ooh, ah, jazz hands.